You're unmuting us?
Yes, we're live now.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Village of Ruidoso workshop meeting. It's December 7th, 8 a.m. If you'll join me for a moment of silence, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the New Mexico flag. Pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All right, thank you, everybody. Hope no one got their trees blown out last night with the gusts. I think we're going to have some more. Roll call, please, Ron.
Mayor Crawford.
Here.
Councilor Salas.
Here.
Councilor Letterman.
Here.
Councilor Eby.
Here.
Councilor Cornelius.
Here.
Councilor Coughlin.
Here.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
All present. Mayor, we have a quorum.
All right, and just a real quick thank you to the Parks and Rec and everything for the tree lighting. Even though they pulled a stinky on the switch, I still think that I should have been let in on the secret that there was a dummy switch. Yeah.
There was.
Yeah, the dummy was at the switch. Thank you for your support. And to the parade was a big hit. And but one thing we talked about on the radio show yesterday, can't tell you how many texts I've received and comments around town about how magical everything was. So it's almost like a Hallmark movie. It's really cool. So thank you, everybody, for doing that. And maybe we'll get some snow towards the end of the week.
Did you see the picture that Reese Parkinson, he always
From
had?
the drone?
Oh, my
yeah,
gosh.
That was awesome. Does he have a license for that?
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was a great shot. Okay, we've got a lot to do today. So we got 30. The 30th item is closed session, and I know that we'll be adding a few things. So you all had the handout for replace page 450 on item number 27. So we're going to move pretty quick. A lot of these are pretty simple. Some of them will require some discussion. Item number 1 is discussion on resolution. Just a reminder, there's no decisions made here today. This is simply for agenda items for council to ask more questions, to get more information before next week's meeting. Discussion on resolution 2021-53, adopting a revised travel policies and procedures manual, providing for the repeal of prior resolutions and written travel policies and procedures and an effective date. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Starkovich.
Mayor, councilors, DFA has updated the travel amounts in the New Mexico Administrative Code 2.42.2, and so now we are adopting the new rates. The actual per diem rate increased $22 from $85 to $115. If you go per diem, you don't have to bring back receipts. It also increased the meal allowance from $30 per 24-hour period to $55. I believe the reason that they were increasing the rates is so that more people will be more willing to go per diem, because now you could probably pay a hotel and your meals with the new rate. So then that will lessen up the amount of work that we have to do. Nothing else changes. An individual can get an advance up to 80% of the per diem rates if they wanted to, and 100% of the mileage. We also had to change one item in concerning mileage. Based on our training through the DFA budget conference, we are supposed to be paying at the rate of the prior year, January 1st. I was paying at the current, so we'll change that also. So those are the two changes in our travel policy.
Okay, anyone have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Because I was thinking it was too late last night to calculate this, and now it's too early this morning to calculate it. It went up $22 plus the 85, right? It went up
So before, you used to get $85 to pay for your hotel and your meals.
Right.
Now you're gonna get $115 for each 24-hour period.
And this is what was my dilemma when I added 22 to 85, it comes out to 107. Yeah.
Oh, did I do my math wrong? Okay, I'll double check that.
It's there. And then the other thing too, just kind of, I mean, it's too late to go, I guess during budget time, I'll just be watching what the financial impact will be. Because I don't know how many departments are traveling right now. I know last year we didn't travel at all.
So you are,
So there is going to be a financial impact. So
So-
that's all I have, Mayor.
yeah,
Okay,
So I've got something, Mayor.
okay.
So, so the 100 and whatever, 7 or whatever it is, that's for hotels, and then a plus 55 for meals? That includes everything?
yes. So when you go per diem, it includes your hotel and your meals. The other rate of $55.
Mayor, if I may interrupt, those numbers are incorrect, Judy. The new in-state's 151. So I think we need a table this for now, and please get on the Finance Authority or the DFA website, but those aren't the correct numbers. Right, Ron?
Mayor Crawford, members, for the per diem rate for overnight travel, it says in-state, FY '21 is 85, FY '22 is 151.
Oh,
And then for meals rates for actual reimbursement, in-state is 30, FY '22 is $55.
So let us get the
Yeah,
updated
we're way
slides.
off on that. Yeah.
Let's get the updated slides and then represent this before the end of this meeting.
Well, not to throw water on the parade, but under your standard per diem rates, it says in-state areas are $151 for a 24-hour period. Period in-state special area, i.e. Santa
Santa Fe.
Fe, 194.
Correct,
And out-of-state, 151.
correct.
they did get away, so they expanded the in-state special area to include Santa Fe County. So now we're anywhere you go in the county, but they also got rid of all the special areas out-of-state travel. So before, if you went to Los Angeles or San Francisco, you got a higher rate. Now there's no special areas out of state. You just get a flat rate.
Right.
Okay, so discussion, Adam? Or you want it as consent?
Mayor, I'd recommend discussion and then we correct the agenda.
So you want to bring it back today?
I think we need to provide you the correct information. We could put it on regular item and then
Yeah.
provide you the correct information on the regular item.
Okay.
That'll work.
And
Okay.
just, Mayor, if I may,
Uh-huh.
when you're looking at it, there's two options. You can go actuals or you can go per diem. On the per diem, the way that it's calculated, if you're out of town for a full day, it becomes, it's the 151 per day, the per diem, and that covers your room
Hotel.
and your meals. If you go for less than 1 day, then that's when your meals starts to kick in, the meal rate. So you may have 2 or 3 days of travel for 24 hours or more, where you'll get the 1 day, the 151 or whatever that per diem rate is. And then on that third day, you would get the percentage of your meals that you'd qualify up to $55 per day. So that's on the per diem process. In addition to that, you get your mileage if you take your personal vehicle.
Right.
If you go actuals, then you keep track, and on the per diem, when you travel, you only get 80% up front, and then when you come back, you get the additional amount. When you go actuals, you just go and you keep track of all your costs, and you can spend up to $55 a day on the meals plus your other expenditures. Oftentimes, you'll go in a room maybe in excess of the per diem rate, so you want to go actuals and then get paid for your meals.
Exactly.
And what about the hotels that provide meals? Well, we had a discussion on that one
When
time.
the hotels provide you breakfast,
Or,
yeah, then you would take that particular meal off of the per diem rate, off the meal rate.
if you choose to eat there.
If whenever you go to a conference or someplace that's providing the meals, you're already being paid for that. So they recommend that you do eat there, but you still, other meals, normally you have 3 meals in a day. the conferences or hotels usually don't provide 3 meals.
Okay.
So Yvonne will have the procedures down, and we'll weigh the options as we move forward and see, what's the most feasible process to doing it to where, anybody traveling is not having to pay out of pocket.
Okay.
Because motels are expensive.
Especially in Santa Fe.
Definitely go actual.
But some of these conferences or whatever, they provide you a lunch, and some of them will do a breakfast and whatever, and I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that issue, because some of the people, they make sure they go to the breakfast and others weren't. So, but if it's included in the fee, then we should go.
And if we see that on the conference agenda, if we see that there is breakfast served, if they submit a breakfast receipt, like if they're going actual, we won't pay the breakfast receipt.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, item number 2. Discussion on reservation of $750,000 from fiscal year 2022 budget for affordable housing. Okay,
Mayor and councilors, if you recall, on June 9th, 2020, council had approved a contribution of cash reserves to affordable housing in the amount of $1 million. And during one of the, we purchased a piece of land for $750,000 on Meacham. However, that land wasn't chosen as the affordable housing site. So we were wanting to reserve some general fund cash reserve to pay the affordable housing fund back the money that we had spent on the land that was not used. So this is a direction for us to actually bring the affordable housing fund back up to $1 million.
okay. Any questions? Do you want that on consent? Or you want it on discussion?
Hey, Mayor, I have a question.
Shoot,
Which piece of property was that?
that's the one with, next to Michael J's?
The one that has the housing on there?
Yes, the rock house
Rent out.
and the cabins?
Yeah, so it has properties on there that can be rented out,
Yes,
which was my understanding. That wouldn't be considered affordable housing?
yes. Could be.
Could be.
Yeah,
So,
we're discussing it. I mean, we're looking at that option for sure.
but the way Judy presented, it sounded like we're going to put the money back into the fund because that's not being used for affordable housing.
On this particular project that we're currently under consideration, is the property across the street, on the other side of Meacham.
Right.
We're gonna end up looking to you, if that deal goes through, then we'll be supporting that new project with cash.
Okay, so we need the funds back in there to
Yes.
support the other project, but that property that we purchased with the 750 is still
Yes,
going to be used as affordable housing.
absolutely, hopefully, yes.
Hopefully. Well, yeah, I mean, we've got some buildings on there that could be rented out. So I just wanted to make sure that something hasn't changed as far as that property goes.
Yes, go ahead, manager.
Mayor, Councilor Coughlin, when we purchased the 605 Meacham property or whatever that address is, the council said to fund that out of the Housing Trust Fund for the 750. And then if a project came forward, then that they would consider putting the money back in for a project participation agreement. And so we have another project that's in play. We're continuing to entertain developers on developing the 605 Meacham property for affordable housing or market rate or mixed income. There's a few different ideas that are out there. So we're not too sure exactly what that property will be used for. But, it could be right now it's kind of open to, it's going to, be proposed to be used for housing. We just don't know what type of income makeup.
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
This 750,000, if we put that back in, then we have our $1 million. Okay, thank you, okay.
And I think that's on a agenda
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
a
coming
little
up.
bit
Yes.
later, and I think I
Yes.
did the breakout on it for
Right.
you.
Okay? Is that good?
I'm good. Thank
Mayor,
you.
and one thing we are, Rodney is evaluating those house and
houses.
and two cabins to bring them back online to get them rented out. So
Okay,
we are looking at that as well.
okay. Recommendations?
Consent?
Consent? Item number 3.
Mayor, on that item, we do have different options, and I don't think we need to, really identify where it's coming from at this point. But, we have some general fund dollars that we could put towards this. In addition, I'm continuing to work on whether we can use the American Recovery money that we have. The appendix does show that affordable housing is an allowable expenditure. But then when you look at it, it says supportive housing and then / affordable housing. So we're still trying to get the guidance from the Treasury to make sure that that's an eligible expenditure. So this may be paid for
Out of that fund.
out of that fund.
Because we're still not spending that money yet. I know some communities have already spent it,
We're not, we're.
and maybe you
entitled.
have to repay it, but we're waiting for clarification.
We
Okay?
did, we were at our GFO conference, and had some sessions with the actual National Government Finance Officers Association, and they did say that the final determinations for the ARA money are at the Office of Management and Budget at the White House, and they're giving their final blessing, so we should see the final uses by early January.
Okay. Maybe.
9 months
That doesn't
later.
mean they'll be
Maybe.
made all clear.
What year, January? Okay.
Is
Item,
this will this be under the Biden administration or one in the future?
yeah.
Yeah.
Item number 3 is discussion on request from Mesa Apartments LLC for participation in a land lease agreement for the affordable housing development at Brown Track 2 in the airport tracks 1100 Meacham Drive, Ruidoso, New Mexico. Yes, ma'am. Samantha?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. This agenda item is for the long-term land lease agreement with Mesa Apartments for the development of 1100 Meacham Drive. They're wanting to put approximately 55 to 56 units of apartments, but they have to have site control in order to submit their application in January to MFA. And so this is one of the requirements, that they have this document in place prior to their submission of their application.
Okay, and we'll have this one on regular, you imagine, and we're looking at, a 30-year? I was looking at the
The one previously,
99 or is it?
99.
it was 99 years with Chelsea. That's what we had looked at before. This new one is still under legal review. Ron gave me a deadline of Thursday to have everything reviewed and submitted to you. So
And I know
we're
Zach
working
is
fast.
in crazy town right now, so,
He is. We have Chris Muirhead and Daniel Alsop's looking at it also.
okay.
Mayor, just for information, I deferred this to Chris and Daniel because they have expertise working on these type of projects, and, it's working under the Affordable Housing Act, which gives municipalities specific authorities. So I felt more comfortable making sure that, somebody that had worked on these type of agreements before is reviewing this, and we're getting a good legal review. So
Okay.
I believe what we're going to be looking at is a 30-year with 2 renewals.
Right.
So this is going to be reviewed prior to our meeting next week?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, because I did have a question on the use, 2.6. I remember you said 55, I thought it was 50, and here it's saying 60-unit apartment building. So that's some clarification there, and then also too, before next Tuesday, that we do have the Appendix A or Exhibit A, the legal description filled out, where exactly we're at, and all those degrees and stuff like that.
We'll make sure that document's cleaned up by then. They've been saying 55 approximate units, so
I
it's
thought I read
fluctuated
that
up and down
somewhere,
a little.
but in that
The number,
paragraph, it was 60-unit building, so they said, so you're building a 10-story building? No, we're not building a 10-story building. But that was one thought that came up.
this afternoon, we have a planning commission for the site plan approval, and they have 56 units drawn in.
Counselor Samantha, I think what we really need to clarify is it's not just going to be units, there's going to be the community part as well. So I think the description needs to be tied to the actual site plan and what's being identified on the site plan. That way it's all consistent.
And I'm sending you some pictures of some cool buildings I saw that would like to. Go ahead, Mr. Cornelius.
They just submitted the site plan as well, right?
Yes.
So we can forward that to you as well before next week.
That'd be good.
Now, are we going to get credit with Mortgage Finance Authority for the entire $1,046,000? Because in the past, we've been told infrastructure didn't count toward our donation. You've got infrastructure in here.
Mayor, Counselor, there's, when we look at what's being recommended, we're looking at the ground lease here. The next part's going into the project participation agreement. We're going to be maximizing the points that we receive with our contributions. On this lease agreement, we also have, in other proposals that we looked at with Chelsea, it was a pure grant. The one that was up on Cree Manor. And then the one that we're entertaining was a ground lease on the Wingfield property. This one is actually, the village will be a partner in this project, and we'll be holding some equity in it. And as a result of that, they'll be paying us back out of the net a certain percentage. So it's a little bit different, the way that they put this whole thing together, but we are maximizing the points that we get from our contributions.
That's good then. Thanks.
Hey, Mayor, I have a question, and I don't know if anybody knows. By doing this lease, this land lease, would this put the property back onto the property tax rolls?
Mayor,
Go ahead, Ron, Manager.
Counselor, we're retaining ownership, so no, it wouldn't go on the property tax rolls.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Mayor and Tim or Samantha, it said under here under the final comment that with the village's support, it will strengthen the applicant's tax credits for the developer. Can you elucidate a little bit more about that? What's in it for them?
Mayor, Counselor, what's in it for them by strengthening it? And that's the point that Counselor Cornelius was making. We're maximizing the scores that they get for the tax credit programs.
Oh, I see.
So the developer, the way that they put together the whole financial package is actually, based on the tax credit program handled from the 9% tax credit. So the investors that are investing in it will, if they are awarded, they bring those tax credits into the financial portfolio, and it ends up benefiting the project financially.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
Manager, Sam, are the total investments $1,046,000? The $1 million, the $35,000 in sewer, that comes out of our pocket, right?
Right.
That's correct. The $35,000 in the sewer, that was a project that Adams had in mind for quite some time. He's going to bring the sewer line to our property as well as bore under the highway to provide the ability for those up on Bonanza and those roads to tap into the sewer as well. So it's been a planned project, but it's directly going to benefit this development.
Okay, so that $1 million that we're putting back into it, we're going to spend on this?
Yes.
Got it.
And they'll
Maybe. It's
Right,
proposed, yeah.
Right, proposed.
And they'll have a management company.
Yes,
Running this.
they're going to take care of all of that.
And then there's some other issues about being able to work across the street and maybe bring some other businesses online too, on sewer.
Okay. Will the lease payments that we receive off this, will that go back into the housing fund?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Is that pretty clear to everyone? Okay. And then they're going to be just given a site plan. It won't be facades or anything yet, right?
What we received is in black and white. They did describe the exterior as being stucco with asphalt shingles for the roof. And the maximum building heights, was 35 feet. And I believe there are 5 separate buildings, and then the community center.
Well, I sent some pictures to you of things that,
Okay, great.
of new apartments in the DFW area, whatever, that are really astounding, because some of the conversations we'd heard about mountain looking, you know.
So I think that
Just a stucco
colors-
building, I don't know, maybe we can look at it. I know it would change some costs, but
Yeah.
I think that this is our shot.
I
We
think we're
need to be
pretty
very
early.
impressive.
I think
As
so,
far as
too.
colors, so I'm sure they'd be flexible to work with us if there was preference, and also a name for the development is something that hasn't been decided on.
Okay. All right. Discussion, obviously. Regular item.
Regular, yes.
Okay. Next one is related. It's item number 4. Wait a minute, where am I at? Yeah. Discussion or request from Mesa Apartments LLC for participation in a development agreement for the affordable housing development at Brown Track 2 in the Airport Tracks 1100 Meacham, Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Mayor, council members, this item is what will detail out the ones that Susan was just describing, our contribution to the sewer line, surveys, and the additional cost to the $1 million, as well as the payments that Manager Dodge was talking about. That number hasn't been set in stone yet. So once we get through the legal, we'll have a very clear picture of the development agreement to present to you all. But that's what details will be in that agreement.
So that'll go on regular.
I think so.
Yes.
Item number 5, discussion on renewal agreement with South Southwest for Chapter 54 rewrite.
This is a first-year renewal. The original contract had an option for 3 renewals. We should be complete by April of 2022. Just throughout the years, cases have come on, we've identified more inconsistencies throughout the code and even other chapters in the code. So we're working through that, but we're anticipating being finished by April of next year, this coming year. So it's just an extension.
When will we get the next
Steering
draft
committee
of
meeting?
this?
I'm thinking January, we'll meet again.
Consent item?
Consent, I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sam. Item number 6 is discussion on memorandum, pardon me, of understanding between the Mescalero Police Department, BIA, Public Safety Answering Point, PSAP, and Ruidoso Police Department, PSAP. And can we go ahead and group 6 and 7? We'll just do it at the same time.
Gonna say
It's
that.
between Lincoln County Sheriff's Department and Ruidoso PSAP.
Mr. Mayor, Council Manager Dodge, both of those agreements are, they needed to be updated with signature pages since I was appointed. What the understandings are, if our 911 system, the PSAP, goes down, literally we have a switch that works, not like the Christmas tree. And
Yeah,
we can flip the switch.
remember that, Ron,
And
Rodney.
it'll transfer our calls over to both places. And likewise with them, if theirs goes down, will be the PSAP for them also.
Consent?
Consent.
Consent for
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah, hope that switch continues to work. All right, item number 8 is discussion on contract with Center of Protective Environment, COPE, to provide individual and group domestic violence offender treatment in the amount not to exceed $15,000, including gross receipts tax. And explain this is part of our DWI.
This is part of the DWI treatment program. The money has to be, some of the money from the grant, as far as the parameters of the grant, has to be spent for treatment, and that's what that goes for.
Okay, I'd like to talk about that one.
Okay?
Just let the public know if that's okay,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, so that they understand where this money's going. This time of the year, we have a lot
I'm
of
gonna
these
bring
things coming.
Mr. Hanson
Yeah,
up. He can
please.
explain it a lot better.
Yeah, just when we come to the council meeting, if you could come up and just give a brief description on how this works. Because I've been contacted by the domestic violence shelter and some of those, that they have an increase of what do you call it?
Offense.
Violence during this time of year, just with stress and whatnot, and that these are some of the things that are done to combat that. So if you wouldn't mind just elaborating a little bit on that.
Well, this money is actually the reversion that we talked about on the 29th. I'm starting this new program. One reason is because there's been a need for it for the last several years, but I didn't have the money to do it. And they've started giving us a little more money, so I'm going to start this treatment program, and it will involve not only domestic violence, alcohol-related domestic violence offenders. I mean, everything has to be alcohol-related to get this money. But it will involve not only that, but DWI offenders, and I'm including all of the counseling agencies or services that are in Lincoln County. And there will be I can't say it. Indigency requirements, and there's forms that they have to fill out showing how much money they make and all this to qualify for this service. And I can pay up to 100% for their counseling and treatment.
Does this go along with like a court-ordered thing
Yes.
that they have to get this and then they can come to you to try to get some?
It has to be a court-ordered treatment or counseling. Most of it is just counseling, but it has to be court-ordered.
Okay.
They don't have to be residents of Lincoln County, but they have to receive their treatment in Lincoln County. They don't have to be referred to treatment by a Lincoln County court. I mean, someone is arrested that is a resident of Lincoln County. If they're arrested in Santa Fe and assigned to treatment and they get their treatment in Lincoln County, then I can pay for it.
Qualify. Okay.
If they qualify
Yes, sir.
financially.
Who monitors this if they're going, if they're court-ordered to receive treatment? Does the court monitor? Well, they don't, but does the court
No,
monitor
I
it?
am basically, I have taken over the tracking process. It used to be called ADE, and now it's Noble. And I've taken over responsibility for doing this tracking of all offenders, DWI-related offenders or alcohol-related offenders in Lincoln County.
Good.
Therefore, when anyone is sentenced found guilty of a DWI-related offense or alcohol-related offense in the case of domestic violence, it comes through me. I mean, I know whether they are, I get it in the Noble website, and I'm the one that keeps that website up for Lincoln County. So I will know if they are actually sentenced or if that's part of their penalty is to get the treatment. And then the treatment, when they go for the treatment, they're assigned to a different treatment program through the Magistrate Court Probation Office, Kenny Vega. And so every time he assigns someone for treatment, I get a copy of it, and it goes into the tracking program for Noble. So I will know who's eligible and who's not. And if they put someone through that's not eligible, I'll simply reject their invoice.
Okay.
I have a question.
Does anybody have any, go
I
ahead.
do. Bill, good morning. Does this also require the individual to go to AA? Is that part of the treatment?
No.
Oh, okay,
Now, they may be assigned to that by the court,
right,
but that's not a part of this program.
okay. And then this 15,000, that's coming from the village of Ruidoso to go in with the 48,000?
That's coming from the DWI program.
Okay.
That's sent to the village of Ruidoso.
And it goes through?
Yes.
Got
and it goes-
It's a go-through,
It's like
okay.
the way they
Yes.
reimburse our officers when they work the DWI
Right.
program.
Okay,
So if you could, what I'd like is next Tuesday, when you give this report, if you could give us some numbers, like, not nothing specific about how many people that we have in, because we always hear about alcohol related, we always hear this stuff, so people, maybe it'll be on their mind to be more aware of it. Just to say, we have, 30 cases, 20 cases, I don't know what it is that are in the county this month or this week or that you're aware of, to kind of give people an idea of what they're looking at. Because I hear there's a lot of DWIs, but you don't know, unless you know them real well, you don't know that it's actually happening.
I can go through and find out how many domestic violence offenders.
Yes.
And how many DWIs.
If you would. And that way, I just want to bring more awareness to what you're doing, and that it is a real thing, because a lot of people, if they're like me, you're in bed by 9 o'clock and you don't know these things happen.
Yep.
But they are happening to our neighbors and whatever, and I just want to bring it aware. So I appreciate it if you'd do that next week. And
I'll do that.
okay, thank you.
Bill, I'd like to ask, in that, he was talking about, like, say, the numbers as far as how many cases there are. Just in looking at the agreement there and what they recommend, 12 to 24 sessions per, like, well, you have your private and your group. If you add that all up, you're looking at possibly being able to finance maybe 5 or 6 people through the entire program if they do. So is that your, generally your schedule, 12 to 24 of each of the private and the group sessions? Because it doesn't look like it's going to fund but 5 or 6 people, if that's your case.
Counselor, I don't hear well. I read lips, and your mustache is a deterrent to my hearing. I'm sorry, but I didn't get all that.
Okay. My question is that, like the mayor asked for numbers on how many cases there were a year, possibly 30, and since Lincoln County, I believe one year was, or maybe several, #1 leading county in domestic violence in the state of New Mexico. And then I'm sure a lot of them would have qualified as far as the indigent standards. But they're talking about the sessions and then the cost per session, and they were recommendations of 12 to 24 sessions in the private and then 12 to 24 in the group sessions. So if you do the math on that, then you're lucky to get 5 or 6 people through at 15,000, maybe not even if they went through the whole 24 sessions. So my question is that the standard of going 12 to 24 in both the group and private sessions, and that's only going to cover 4, 5, or 6? Is that enough? And as you know, as far as the cases that we do have in Lincoln County.
I don't think it will be enough, but it's all I've got.
So,
And it's more than we've had.
okay.
It is an increase over what we've spent in the past.
So the
Because-
question would be then what happens to the rest of the people? I know it's an increase, and it's great. It's great.
There are other sources of
AA.
treatment income. There's, some people have insurance, some people use Medicaid, some people use, traffic safety provides a certain amount of money for treatment also. And that's another thing that I have to watch very closely is I cannot pay anything if another state agency contributes to their treatment. So, to answer your question, if this will not be enough money for everybody, but it's better than what we've had in the past.
It's a start.
And I think Medicaid pays like 70% or something. And what they've been asking me is, can I take over after Medicaid pays the 70%? But I can't do that. Because if Medicaid pays on a person, I can't pay anything on it. Because two state agencies can't pay for the same person to get treatment.
And I think too, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Eby and Bill, there's also the Lincoln County Assistance Program, so-called
Yes.
LCAP.
Yes.
And that is funded very well through the county. And that would be another backstop to this. When you ask, is this going to be a donut hole where people fall through, that's another option as well.
Yes, it
I
is.
think the hardest thing in this whole thing is, especially where alcoholism is involved, is the agreement of the individual that there's even an issue. And then the second, really, truly, and then that's where AA comes in.
Yep.
You have to say, I am an alcoholic, and that's pretty hard. The other thing is, I think it needs to be stressed too that although the DWI is a public issue and a public record, that all that goes on with the counseling is protected. And that's another barrier to any kind of behavioral health, is people being reassured that this is not a public forum for anything that's shared in that regard or anything that would be shared, especially with the violence. So if we could work that into that presentation, I deeply appreciate it.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Might need to talk to your state representative about this, get some money, because domestic violence is on the governor's call. So it can get discussed maybe.
It's a good idea.
So we may need to make him aware of that.
We'll bring it to his attention too. Okay? All right, thank you, Bill. So we'll have that one on regular.
Yeah.
Item number 9 is discussion on,
Similar.
contract with Capitan Therapy and Behavioral Health LLC to provide individual therapy along with group treatment in the amount not to exceed $15,000. How does that one work?
It's the same thing.
Same thing?
For Capitan.
I also, see, I'm opening this up to any treatment provider in Lincoln County.
Uh-huh.
And I have, for instance, I got a call yesterday morning from Hope Floats, I believe it is, which is another treatment provider. And I'm going to run them, I'm going to try to do MOU with them out of my regular distribution next month.
Okay.
I should be running that through next month. So, and any other treatment provider, I have contacted all of them. Some of them said they're not interested. Well, basically Presbyterian said they weren't interested, and the people that do, and I don't know who they are, the people that do the DWI school for the traffic safety, they said that they were not interested because most of their money comes from traffic safety.
Okay.
But I do have one more that I'll be doing next month out of my regular distribution funds.
Okay.
So is this an extra 15,000? Oh, okay, so
Yeah, this-
15,000 more dollars. Okay.
This 48,000 that I'm doing this out of, some of it is earmarked for equipment for the police departments, but 36,000, I believe, is earmarked for treatment.
Okay.
So I've got another 6,000 I can do with this other provider, but it won't get started until, well, after the January meeting, so that's that may be enough, for them, since they are a small company.
Okay. All right. So we'll do regular on that one too, just to briefly lump those two together. So we can discuss that and you can point out the treatment funds, the majority of it. All right, thanks, sir.
Thanks, Bill.
Number 10, discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Bureau of Land Management and the Village of Ruidoso, Sierra Blanca Regional Airport to provide quality recreation opportunities on public lands. What does this mean?
Thank you, Mr.
Good
Mayor.
morning,
Thank you,
Austin.
Councilman.
Good morning, Joe.
Means I don't have to climb over the fence
Fence
to
to-
go through that trail now, so.
So this MOU between the Village of Ruidoso and the BLM, it's really for the rite of passage for public land users to ingress and egress out of the approach ends of the south and the east, which for most of you guys may know, that's the side on the Devil's Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot of hunters in there, a lot of hikers, horseback. So really it's just to keep that in place so that they can go in there, do what they need to do. And we're gonna bring a map so that you guys can see exactly what we're talking about.
That would be
visually
good.
see.
I mean, I see the outline in this agreement there, but that's all our property. And within that, if you could show exactly where the runway is
Yeah.
located on there as well.
Absolutely.
So, because, I mean, yeah, to a lot of people think that's the whole airport, but it's not. And
Right.
trying to explain that is kind of difficult.
Absolutely, yes, that is true. The village's property goes actually all the way past Devil's Canyon Road
Right.
at one point, so
We,
there are several trails that the BLM has designated that come across our property, so that's what this is. And this has been, the MOU has been in effect before, we're just redoing the MOU, so.
Is that where the waterfall is too?
no, the waterfall's on the north side.
It's on the opposite side, down on the Fort Stanton BLM land, it's further
It's
down
up
off of our
there.
property.
Here was a good one when we were searching for a cemetery area. We were looking at that spot. I wanted to call it Purgatory Hills so that you had to go through Devil Canyon to get to it.
Okay, so do we want to talk about this one to let the public know that it's up?
I think it would be worthwhile, Mayor, just so that, I mean, a lot of people do like going through there.
Okay, regular item.
And we'll get a picture with the map and stuff for them.
That was without.
Item number 11, discussion on master service agreement with Connexus, formerly known as AlertSense, in the Village of Ruidoso for compliant mass notification that enables rapid exchange of information between the government and its citizens.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is just our standard reverse 911 system, basically, the Call Me Ruidoso system. It's just a renewal. We've been with this company for 3 years. Really happy with the service that they provide with us. This is just a renewal to get us in with them another 3 years. The price has not changed. It's still $4,750 a year, which is a really good deal compared to what we were paying with the previous company. So I think this is a really good option for the village.
Okay,
Consent?
consent?
I think
Okay.
so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Diane, discussion on state grants and aid public libraries agreement with the New Mexico State Library for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of $9,712.87.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is a standard yearly agreement that we have with the New Mexico State Library. It's based on population.
Okay. Do we want to do consent?
I think so.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Discussion on an addition of a safety officer position for the Village of Ruidoso. Yes, ma'am.
Morning, Mayor and Council. This will be discussion to add a safety officer position to the village to help ensure compliance with all safety regs and OSHA compliance and monitor safety training for the employees. It's not a budgeted position at this time. However, the New Mexico Municipal League gave a reduction in our insurance costs of $300,000.
50%, right?
Because we didn't have a,
Well, that's, part of it was a review of the rates, and it seemed like that
You're way up
a
there.
reduction to all the premium payers was in order.
So that salary would be covered by that. It would be a pay band 80. You all have the draft job description. We've had the safety committee and directors review, have a few more directors reviewing, and then Erica from the municipal league. So we're just about finalized on that job description.
Mayor, Mayor, councilors, Ron and I did attend the City Managers Association last week, and they were talking about, quite a few of the changes and whatnot. I'd also like to add to this, some of the risk management component to this safety officer position after that meeting, to where they'll be helping us track some of our losses and things of that nature. So, we had already reviewed this and kind of finalized it, but after our meeting and the way that they're going to be, changing the way that they do business at the league, I think we need to add that in as well. Would you agree, Ron?
Mayor Crawford, members of council, I do agree on that. That would assist us with the working together also with the self-insurance fund and their claims department also.
Mr. Mayor, I just had I'm all in on agreement that we need one. I'm concerned, though, in reading the scope and also the requirements, this has to be a bachelor equivalent with a safety engineering degree and 3 years experience. Our range is, if I did the math right, is between 44.7 and 61.3. Is that a range that will actually get a qualified candidate?
Counselor, we did reach out to several municipalities, 4 municipalities, I should say, and we got an average range for a safety officer. Those are preferred qualifications. The bachelor's and the 3 years of experience are preferred. However, I don't know if the manager agrees, but I think that we can definitely train and utilize those resources through the New Mexico Municipal League to make sure this person understands their responsibilities.
Mayor, Council, as we put this out and if we see that it's too low, and as we engage people, we have the opportunity to come back to council. The way our pay band works is, if it's above mid, then we would seek consent to the mayor. And if it's above the top end, then we would come back to council for consideration.
Thank you.
Okay?
regular.
Regular? We'll talk about it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 14, discussion on second renewal agreement with FBT Architects, DBA Groundwork Studio, RFP 2020-005 for professional services for property master development plans. Rodney?
Good morning, Mayor, councilors. Again, as the title suggests, this is just a renewal of the agreement with Groundwork Studios to perform our property master plans.
And I know you're real happy with them, and they've done a pretty good job. Consent item?
Consent.
Okay, thank you, Rodney. No, you've got other stuff in here.
I think there was one that I had spoken about that I wanted to add. I'm not sure how we addressed that. It was the construction agreement, an extension on the construction agreement for the Cree Meadows Trail. We've already had previously signed that extension. This was just
Well, we've already approved it, and so it's a minor change.
just needed signatures because the dates, they wanted, they were legal to sign it.
Right, before we signed it, before whatever. So the council's already approved it, so with y'all's consent, I'll just go ahead and sign it again, since I've already done it once. Okay, Rodney.
Thank you.
Mayor, before we move on, and I think this is, it's not about you, Rod. I got to item 14, and I was going to ask the other counselors, when I tried opening up those items, I kept getting system error. And I meant to call Tim yesterday, or Ron. Because
Mine comes up.
From,
mine
yours
does.
pulls up on item 14? Okay, so that, it might just be me.
As I scanned down, it went from one task order to the next, so.
Got it. I don't have any issues. Okay. Item number 15. Discussion on non-award of IFB number 2022-002B for Paradise Canyon lateral replacements.
Yes, Mayor and Councilor, so this is a recommendation to go for non-award as we received 2 bids and the apparent low rescinded their bid. They requested that we accept their withdrawal. And they also did request that we do that and not recall on their bid bond.
But you're recommending we call their bid bond.
Yes, sir. And we have reached out to Zach, and he has
Supported that position. So tell us why we're doing that again? Because what, the expense that we've incurred?
Yes, because you'll see on the next item, you'll see there's an increase with Moles and Corbin on the next, item number 16. When you go out to rebid, they have to redo all the bid work stuff, so there's going to be some expense to that. So the cost of the bid bond that they put in this case was 5% of the bid, and it's about 30 plus thousand. That will cover those expenses for not only Moles and Corbin, but if you remember, we have Riverbend Engineering as well on this project. So anyway, that's going to be our recommendation, is to proceed with the
bid bond collection.
The collection of the bid bond. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the second bidder was above the 10% of our budgeted amount, so we're recommending to clean up, make some minor changes, and then go out to rebid.
Okay. What do y'all want to do?
Regular.
Mayor, in addition to that, I'd ask that we, expedite the process and allow us to, go back out for bid. We want to try to get this project back on the ground before we start the resurfacing, so.
So what are you saying? We just need to,
Well, when we take action, next
Tuesday?
week, when we consider it, we just, consider giving direction or either that or adding another item to, approve us rebidding right away or directing us to.
okay, was direction enough, or do we need a motion?
Mayor, members of the council, we could use this, this item could be a regular item and then provide direction to rebid the project.
Okay, so we'll put it down as regular with a note that we'll provide direction to rebid.
Okay. Karen, are you doing anything to bring this down? Is there any hope of getting this within budget?
Well, actually, the J29's bid was barely over the engineer's estimate, so we were kind of.
But he made a mathematical error from what I understand, so it may not have been.
Mayor, Councilor, there are some lessons that have learned in the process where they're going to be providing some clarification. So I think we should get a better bid, incorporating some of the amendments and things of that nature into it, or addendums.
Right, and that was going to be explained on item number 16, the next item.
Okay.
That's related to this, with the additional expenses. But yes, you are correct, we are making some changes and some clarifications, as Manager Dodge stated, so that the bidders have a more clear understanding of what is being asked.
So what's the amount of money we talking about on their bid bond?
Well, it's 5% of the total bid, so it's upward of 30,000.
37, no, it's
37.
86.
Have we ever had any past history with J29?
No.
That's a big difference there, 500,000 almost.
Right.
Well, they said that Renegade kind of swagged it anyway, that's what I was told.
Yeah, that's what the engineer shared with us. There was, I guess, some conversation between the two contractors.
What does swag mean?
Sophisticated wild ass guess.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll have discussion on that and direction. Next, item number.
Acronyms.
Huh?
That's an acronym.
Yeah, I know, I usually explain my acronyms, but. Item number 16 is discussion on task order RFP 2018-008P-03 Amendment 1 with Mosen Corbin and Associates for Paradise Canyon lateral replacement to increase professional engineering costs by $11,949.75, including gross receipts tax for rebidding the project.
Mayor Crawford, councilors, I'm Eric Boyda, the Water Resource Director. So we kind of discussed the core premise behind this. But what we need is additional funds to rebid the project. Moles and Corbin was going to take a look at the design set and see if we can't make some further clarification. You know, staff and Moles and Corbin thought that the bid spec was fine as it was, but we'll go through it and make sure that everything's clear and there's more detail so that people aren't confused about what they're bidding on.
What do you think the confusion was at?
I think that there was some concerns about the number of laterals and connections, and concerned about the lengths of the lateral lines that are being replaced. So this review is going to give a little bit more clarity to that, and give a little bit more specificity to the number of connections that there are.
Well, it seems like the lengths and distances would have been included in that original Mosen Corbin engineered spec.
Adam, do you want to?
Because that's the whole purpose of the original. What did we already spend on it?
Mayor, Council, the lengths were not clearly identified as far as, exact numbers. It was called out where the main line was and where the services were. One of the issues I think that was brought up is on Paradise Canyon, there's one lateral per 2 to 3 meters. So I think that's one of the questions that J29 had brought up is the length. They're taking out one and installing two, basically. So I think that's where the confusion came in. They're looking at the houses and they're looking at the service lines, and it's not matching up, which it matches up because you're 1 to 2, and I think that's where the confusion was with them. If that makes sense.
And unfortunately, that was brought up after the bid was submitted.
And it's called out on the plan set, where the meters were, where the lot lines were. It's just every other lot line has 2 meters to each house.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think we're going to have to do it, but I agree. I think it should have been in the plan set.
Well, I mean, that's the whole purpose of hiring Moles and Corbin for the engineering specs.
And the other thing is the line is wherever it is on the street. But you're basically going from the line both ways. It's that many feet.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, yeah, in Paradise Canyon, the line is on the north and east side of the road, I guess you could say, depending on where you're going, all the way down.
Yeah.
So it just depends on which side the houses are on. Like I said, every other lot line has 2 meters. Right now, there's one 2-inch stub out, 2-inch galvanized line going in between those, and it's branching off to 2 to 3 meters, depending on the lots.
Are we going to go ahead and put lines to the vacant lots so we don't tear up our pretty paving?
Yes, sir. The lots will be, it is identified to the empty lots, the buildable lots to put services to.
You put a meter there too, or?
Just
a line, okay.
Yeah.
I think you're going to need to clarify it, but I think it should have been clarified to start with.
I'm really getting tired of Moles and Corbin.
In Mayor Crawford, and in defense of Moles and Corbin, the review of the design and making changes is just $1,100. So most of it is just the base services of bidding and having the pre-bid meeting and reviewing the bids. So it's going to be a really minor.
1,100. What's the 12,000 for?
So, like I said, the 1,100 is for the actual changes to the plan set. The remaining balances for the services of doing the pre-bid meeting, coming down here, doing the site.
Advertising, marketing.
Yes.
Of course, I think you could argue that we wouldn't have that expense if they'd done it to start with.
It
But I
just,
don't think we have any choice. We're gonna have to do it.
right. I just see that, it seems like maybe that there wasn't the effort put into it that I would have assumed. If I was a contractor, I would understand, I would be bidding off the spec sheets. And then they should have done, on this big of a project, they should have done some field work, I would see, and maybe those questions, I can see problems on both sides. They should have done the field work.
Mayor, council, they did do the SUE, which is the identification of utilities. They had a company come out.
Beforehand.
Beforehand, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so, what do y'all want this discussion, regular or consent?
Regular.
Okay, thank you, guys. Item number 17, discussion on second renewal agreement with High Watermark LLC RFP 2020-009 for professional environmental compliance, construction management, and inspection services for all FEMA-funded projects.
Yes, Mayor, Council, this is the second renewal for High Watermark to get us, take the project of the sewer line and as well as the bridges through completion. So it's just their second renewal.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? I know changing horse in the middle of the stream comes to mind, but, so, consent? Okay. 18, discussion on change order number 1 with SAK Construction LLC for emergency purchase of services to perform CCTV and cleaning of the village of Ruidoso sewer line due to infiltration stemming from the July flood event in the amount of $39,415.86, including gross receipts tax.
Yes, Mayor, Council, this, and to clarify from our last discussion, this change order is an addition to the disaster assistance program application that we were.
You'll add to that fund.
Yes, sir. The initial cleaning and CCTV, which is the cammering, was included in that application, but this would be added to it, which we all know that 1.3 million that was identified on that application, we got 750,000 of grant monies from the state for that. So that difference and this 39,000 is going to be added to our, what we're calling GAP application to the Department of Homeland Security, which is going to be the excess of the sewer line projects, which includes all of our property acquisitions, easements. It's going to be suspension costs, anything that we've incurred that's gone above and beyond that the initial monies that were given to us for the sewer line project. That money will be included in that application. Manager has asked everybody, we're asking and trying to find money from any possible source to shore up the difference.
What's the deadline on turning all that in? Is there a deadline?
No, sir, what we're doing right now, I'm working with Judy, we're going to put a recap, I should say, of everything. Now that we have the new engineer's estimate on the hazard mitigation, we can put a recap together. I've talked to Department of Homeland Security of how they want that presented, just a short proposal given to them. We want to initiate that submission right now since they're in special session, and then follow up with a letter from the mayor after a week or so when they've received it to kind of push that along.
Let's admit we need to get that application, get that in now.
Yeah, the application for the
Monies?
For the disaster assistance, that's been done, but as far as
The additional.
the gap fund, yes.
Well, you said we got 750 already, and we're looking for the gap, so.
Yes, and with this, I believe I did the math on that, and with this monies right here, it puts us right about an additional six and a half thousand that we're going to be short on.
Just 6.5? Okay.
Well, no, just for the
July 6th event.
yes, for the thank you.
We're going to be short how much?
about 650,000.
Okay, because I thought I heard you say 6.5 thousand.
Sorry, I did
Karen,
mix it up.
it
Mayor,
sounds
Mayor,
like
the
this-
total gap that we're considering is considerably larger than that because it includes all the previous disasters, but the disaster July 6th, the state declaration only goes up to 750.
Okay.
It sounds like this work's already been done.
Yes, sir.
Why did we leave out over a mile
Well, and-
cleaning on this?
Okay, Mayor, Council Cornelius, SAK will be on the meeting on Tuesday, but from what I understand from Enrique, who has stated, the initial proposal that came in from ProPipe to do the actual cleaning that they had done, they based their initial quote off of what they had done through the restoration phase, and that didn't identify some of the areas that were called out, where I guess we're excluded from the work because we had found out those lines were already lined and stuff.
Okay.
And,
So-
it was Mayor Council, it was a good thing that the SAK or ProPipe did go back through, the debris that we found in the line and the cleaning they did. There's a couple top hats for the service laterals that had been damaged from the flood, from the debris going through the line that they did identify and fix at that point.
Okay, I'll ask, what's the top hat? Is that the lid?
It's it's basically a base for the service lateral for the houses. They put the liner in, they drilled the hole. Instead of just leaving a gap between the pipe and the new liner, it's like a sleeve that goes in and seals everything up.
Okay.
And, for instance, Meander Drive, there was one that had actually turned sideways and it could have caused a huge backup on Meander.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Adam, okay, so when we get all of this done, one of these days,
You're optimistic.
yeah. So if we have next year, we have another July 6th come through. So this can still happen over and over again, every time we have a big, not necessarily a flood, but a big water incident since it's in the river.
Mayor, Councilor Letterman, there's no insurance saying that, we're not gonna get infiltration into the line. We do have stuff in the river, once the hazard mitigation is done, it's gonna help us out a bunch, it's gonna armor those lines.
Okay.
And, if we do get surcharging in the line, it's not gonna break the clay. We have the liners in there. Yeah, we might have to hire a company or even go ourselves and go clean it out and make sure there's no debris in the lines, but it's gonna better us for the future.
Okay.
Mayor and Councilor, if you recall, the majority of the infiltration occurred where the construction was at.
Yeah,
So, it was, what they consider an act of God.
sure.
But had the construction been 100% complete, we probably wouldn't have had the same impact.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we are almost complete with the rehab of the river itself.
Yeah, Mayor, Councilor, the SAK, they were supposed to mobilize last week. They had an issue on another job, so they're mobilizing this week to do their punch list items, the few things that was called out by the engineer for them to fix. But there's only one other construction on Fern Trail that needs to be done, and SAK will be done.
Okay.
We're making big progress on that.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Sounds like you made some progress on that easement as well.
Yes, sir. We met with the property owner when we were at the seminar, or the conference that we were at. We met with them, and I followed up with John, the son of Mrs. Ivy, and he's actually coming up this week, and hopefully we'll be finalizing paperwork.
Good.
So we'll be able to complete that restoration phase.
Okay. What do y'all want, number 18?
Consent is just.
Consent. Okay, thank you. Number 19, discussion on reconstruction and minor realignment of Center Street in the amount of $395,900, including gross receipts tax through Cooperative Education Services, CES, contract number 2021-12R214-all with Renegade Construction LLC.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Morning.
So this is the project that we've been discussing in the past, realigning Center Street from the intersection of Suttereth all the way up to the intersection on Wingfield. We received 2 bids for the project. Renegade Construction was the lowest bid. And so we're looking to go to the next step with this project to getting it to construction. And so this item, the current total bid for the project's $395,900.
Yeah, please.
Current budget, right now we have $200,000. The original budget was based off of a little different scope of work. We've added a little more work to the project since that original budget was done. And so that's the reason for the gap there from our current budget.
Mayor Pro Tem and Councilors, this also does some improvements to the parking lot as well, correct?
Correct. It includes enlarging the parking lot behind Timbers Mall to include a concrete retaining wall. Our property line is actually closer to the mall, so we've got a little more property there we can use to extend that parking lot a little bit, make it easier to get in and out of. Right now, it's pretty tight. So
Right.
this does include that, which, like I said, wasn't a part of the original budget when that was done.
Is this sidewalks too?
Correct.
Yeah.
Curb and gutter,
Yes, I
new
see.
sidewalk on both sides.
Yes.
Currently, there's only sidewalk on the east side, except in front of, the corner businesses there on the west side, but this is gonna get new sidewalk all the way up to Wingfield from Sutherland.
And I see that property there that the grass has been either worn down or mowed down,
Yes,
and that's our property?
yeah, yes, it's in the right of way, yes, sir. Right now, there's currently dumpsters in that location. We'll get with Jerry to relocate those.
One time they were on the other side of the street, but a lot of the businesses right there, Cafe Rio, all those, in effect, all the way down to my property and Donnie's, a lot of those, that's where we use those.
Okay.
And I know on Grindstone off Texas right there, they put a few additional ones to help Donnie's and some of those other businesses right over there. So it's pretty tight over there.
Sure.
And with all that traffic, it'd be nice if we could relocate them, but I don't know how we make it any more inconvenient for the businesses.
Right.
Because it's quite a haul to haul your trash all the way up there.
And it's right at the top of the hill, so they're gonna climb the hill. But
Yeah.
we'll have to work on that, getting those relocated to a different location.
Okay. What do we want to do?
Consent?
Okay. I'm good with that. Item number 20, discussion on non-award and re-advertisement of RFP 2022-004P for professional services for master planning and rate analysis for services related to the solid waste engineering section of the RFP. Yes, sir.
Mayor Crawford, councilors, I want to apologize for putting so many items on the council meeting this time.
Somebody should.
Mayor,
It's all right.
Mayor, if we could, I think several of these items are all related. Can we just handle them?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's 21, it's 20, 21.
So, so the items 20 through 26 are all related to the master planning and rate analysis services. So the review committee met 4 times and reviewed the proposals. We had 2 major partnerships apply for portions of the project, including Moles and Corbin and AECom partnered, and they applied for all 5 sections. And then we had Sauter Miller and Associates partner with Site Southwest and Raftelis, and they applied for the planning and rate analysis component and the water engineering component. And so in the review of the solid waste engineering section, we discussed and we had a follow-up interview with Moles and Corbin and AECom about their experience in solid waste, and the committee felt that they didn't convey their New Mexico specific experience well enough, and so we're recommending a non-award for that section of the RFP, and then a re-advertisement so that we can get that process started so they can get into the fold of the rest of the projects. We're recommending a award for the top-level planning and rate analysis to Sauter Miller and Associates. We felt that they conveyed their experience the best, and the firm, the Raftelis, is a firm that specializes in utility rate studies. And then to award the water engineering, the water master plan component to Sauter Mill and Associates. And then award Moles and Corbin for sewer collections and the wastewater treatment plant master planning. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, and we have some of the specific fields if there's any specific questions. There's not any task orders on this council meeting. We're going to be issuing a small task order to Sauter Miller to help us define and refine the scope of work for the master planning efforts, and our intent is to have the task orders for the specific master plans on the next regular council meeting.
On Tuesday or in January?
In January.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yeah.
You guys want me to do lots of work from now until Tuesday?
Does anybody have any questions?
How old is our current sewer master plan?
Our current sewer master plan has reached the end of its life. It's 5 years old.
Okay.
So that sewer master plan won't be as intensive as the other documents because it's just picking up that document, refreshing it, and updating the CIP. And, so one of the reasons why we've grouped all these master planning process and rate analysis together as one is it's going to help us maintain an appropriate schedule for updating these. So,
Right.
Every 5 years we should be picking up the master plans again and doing a major rewrite, and then with that doing a rate analysis study.
Yeah.
Mayor, Council, and I do concur with the committee's recommendation. And I did have concern about only one firm submitting on the solid waste and not having, New Mexico experience other than a couple of communities that they worked with, but they never worked on a complete master plan or a complete system. They only worked on permitting and things of that nature. So I do concur that we need to rebid that out. And I know that there is other firms in New Mexico that would be interested in that.
Why do you think it is that no one wanted to bid on it?
I think the way that it was all grouped together, those are normally different, separate disciplines. And because it was all grouped together, they kind of shied away. I think that's probably why they shied away from it. And then I know that once we do separate it out, there'll be other firms that are interested.
So who wrote the bid specs on this?
It was me.
And so the financial impact to us is going to be an additional $850?
Up to, that's just the advertisement costs.
Yeah.
So, this is, we're trying to find a approach that minimizes our admin stress of this process. So we're going to be making notes of this and working with the people that did propose and, what are the issues that they saw so that we can refine this procurement process because, like I said, we're going to do the same thing again in
5 years.
5 years. So we want to make sure that we've helped the people proposing feel comfortable with proposing.
Okay.
If I may, Eric, whoever did the master plan for the solid waste department before?
It's my understanding that there isn't a master plan, or it's so old that it's lost.
Yeah, so, that's kind of an issue when you don't have consultants that have built
I thought that
history,
we
so.
did that with, what was his name?
Kaplan.
Yeah.
I think Jeff might have done that himself, or aspects of it.
I think he kept talking about it a lot and mentioning it, that working on it and stuff, but I don't think we ever actually took action on it or brought up to the council, if I remember right.
Okay, so do we want to put 20 through 26 on consent?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
27, discussion on task order RFP 2018-008P-05 with Mosen Corbin and Associates for Upper Canyon Surface Diversion Structure Modification Design in the amount of $284,086, including
Mayor,
gross receipts.
if I may, just, I want to make a quick point to, again, on the same issue. As we attended the City Managers Association last week, and, prior to that, Mayor, you did a presentation to the legislators on legislative appropriations. Anything that we can do to get projects, on water, bridges, broadband, shovel-ready, we need to really make a push to try to get as close to getting plans developed as soon as possible. A lot of the other communities are asking us, how are you guys getting all these projects ready? And we let them know about the efforts, but it all comes together with the planning. And, there's a lot of money. It's going to be coming down. Nobody knows the process and how it's going to be coming down, but it's our understanding that there's going to be millions available.
Okay.
Mayor Crawford, councilors, before I dive into this specific project, I want to outline a correction. I had a slip of the finger in tabulating the gross receipts tax. So the total cost of this task order is going to be proposed at $290,066.
Mayor, Councilor, on that, is it the local gross receipts tax that you're identifying? They need to start identifying the local gross receipts tax.
That was passed.
I'm not sure that I agree with that. I believe there's a section in there that says if you're if it requires a 4-year degree, then you don't change your location code. So, we may be.
A 4-year degree, what would that have to do with anything?
There was an exemption to the gross receipts tax rule because I guess a lot of engineers were saying that they were going to be, it was going to affect their tax. Wait, hold on, let me think.
Well, let's get it clarified and get it back to us to find out
I
what
want
it
to see
is.
that. I haven't seen or heard that.
It was on one of
That's not what they explained to us in our sessions.
okay, I'll get the presentation.
Okay. I just need somebody to tell me what to do and I will get it done.
Yeah, our understanding is the source designation applies to everybody. And that's a big discussion they had, is that a lot of people that were doing it incorrect were going to end up with a liability for the amendment, so they want to make sure that they get it done correctly right away.
Okay. Let's get that all clarified for the next meeting.
Okay, but we've got the general, around the general amount. As you guys remember, the last council meeting, we did the third and final renewal for Mosen Corbin for dusting off some old projects that they had on the shelf, one being the Paradise Canyon Lateral project. The other one is for the Upper Canyon Surface Diversion. And so in the effort to get project shovel-ready, we want to put this task order forward, or do this task order with Mosen Corbin to bring this project up through the 100% design and start the consultation and permitting with both the Office of the State Engineer and the Army Corps. And then we'll do a different contract when we get the funds available to do the construction phase services for engineering. So based on our design basis memo that we did in 2019, based on operation and maintenance costs and discussions with our operators, we want to go with, it's called the Run of the River Kawanda screen. It's a stainless steel screen that basically the curvature shape of it self-cleans. So when you get sand and gravel and other debris, leaves, the flow of the water will actually push everything off the screen, and then the water will go backwards into the screen, and it will just have some finer sediments in it. So it should reduce our operation and maintenance costs because we won't have to go in there and scoop out the surface diversion.
Where does the debris go?
Down the river. So it just lets the sediment that's coming from above go past the surface diversion, and that's going to be healthier for the river too, because we won't have this point where we stop that sediment from moving downstream. But this should give us a better response time. So when, if you remember this year when we're getting those flows and we had that really nasty dark water, that water was bringing out a lot of sediment. We'd scoop out the surface diversion, you'd have one flow event and it'd be full again.
Yeah.
And it'd be costing us $5,000 to $10,000 a shot to clean it out.
Plus no water that goes into grindstone.
Yes. So, there's going to be times where we want to shut down the surface diversion because we don't want to take in the worst of the worst. But this is going to give us a quicker response time when we do have those high flows to start taking water again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor, one of the things that I might recommend is that, maybe a few of us can take a trip up to Las Vegas and look at their on-stream diversion and just to see how it works, because in addition to that, we've had some discussion yesterday in the utility committee meeting that, at some point in time, I think we also need to identify how we're going to, handle a settlement basin before it gets into the pipes. So, I like the diversion, but, I think it'd be good just to go see how that works. There's not very many surface systems in the state, right, Eric?
No.
Most of them are groundwater production. So if any of you are open to that, I know that they would host us and show us their system and how it works.
Okay.
That's a whole different system than what we're looking
No,
at.
it's very similar.
Okay.
It's on river diversion, and then it goes into a sedimentation basin, and then from there.
Okay.
And just wanted to check, Ron, we got the task order handed out to them. There was a mistake with the attachments. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The mayor and council have a copy there.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Discussion. You want this regular or consent?
I say regular.
I
Okay.
think so too.
Okay, item number 28.
Mayor Crawford,
Uh-huh.
do we want to take a break for the closed session? It's 9:30.
Yes, if we could, Mayor.
Oh, what do we have in close?
We asked the attorneys to be available at a time specific,
Okay.
that we don't have them waiting.
I didn't know that. Okay. Yes, we'll need a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we move into closed session with discussion of limited personnel matters citing 1015-1H2, NMSA 1978. Also discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, citing 1015-1H7, NMSA 1978. And finally, discussion of the purchase, acquisition, and/or disposal of real property and/or water rights by the Village of Ruidoso, citing 1015-1H8, NMSA 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session. And I so move.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Ron.
Counselor Jackson.
Aye.
Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius.
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move into closed session, so somebody will,
Mayor, did you want to use the conference room, or did you want to just stay in here?
I think without the Zoom being set up, it might be best to stay in here,
'cause they're already on right now.
unless it's set up in there.
We can just stay here.